serve chops. No, I'm just kidding. But we are acting as judge and jury for Jim Cramer after he picked his drafts. So let's start off because, Jim, you said something to me this morning, and do you want to repeat it? On the floor of the NYSE, you said...
Deception.
But he
that I would
told
never
me
draft
he
a
would
Cowboy.
not be drafting a Cowboy.
And later in the day, there's a lot of rumblings that maybe something's going to be settled in the next, say, 72 hours. And so therefore, maybe.
You were playing the long con from this morning to trick your entire league?
Well, I thought that for sure I wanted Zeke.
Points.
I wanted Zeke more than, honestly, I know everyone loves McCaffrey.
Yeah, sure.
But I actually want Zeke because I think Zeke is a monster. And I like to ensure myself when we lose to the Cowboys that at least I win. That's what people didn't realize.
That's smart.
You know that's about psychology.
Even when you lose, you win.
But look, there's fantasy, and then there's reality. Fantasy may be not great. Reality, if they beat us because of Zeke, I won't kill myself.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
It's about being alive at the end of the season.
That's what it is.
I'm not talking about
really
sudden
about.
death. I'm talking about
No.
actual death.
Yeah, we're not talking about survivor pool.
No. It's not survivable. It is the actual,
pulse.
All right, so let's go to work.
Okay.
So, Jim, we already talked. Both of these guys, Bill and Adam, both say that they approve of your choice of Zeke, but you drafted not one, but two Cowboys. Guys, what do you think about that?
What's the rule?
Handcuff.
Got to do it.
Handcuff.
Got to do it.
No choice.
Very proud once I saw your roster that you
Had
handcuffed.
to do
Adam, not only did he handcuff Zeke, but you also handcuffed one of your other running backs,
Madison.
Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison.
Well, Cook was hurt.
Yep.
And I felt like I had to do it. I already looked. It's very difficult to tell when you go in. I am scheduled to win my first game by 16 points, but a lot of things can happen, right?
Yeah,
And what do we really think about projections?
I hate
Don't
them.
you hate? How's that feel about projections?
Adam, do you like the projections on the league sites?
No, I could care less about them. They're so misleading. We get those draft grades too. They're ridiculous. I rather them give me a bad grade because a lot of it is based on ADP, and a lot of times I'll take players above their ADP if I believe in them. So it doesn't mean anything at all.
Adam, Jim followed one of our 10 commandments, drafted both of his handcuffs, Alexander Madison for Dalvin Cook, Tony Pollard for Ezekiel Elliott. What rounds do you look to get your handcuffs?
It depends. I'm usually the double-digit rounds. I'm not going to get a handcuff for everyone. I think in this instance with Elliott and the potential holdout, you have to get Pollard. And the thing is, in the average league, Pollard is falling in drafts. If you're playing high-stakes leagues with people who know what they're doing, Tony Pollard just keeps going up and up the draft board. Back in July and even earlier this month, I got Pollard at round 15. That's not happening anymore. I don't think the public has caught on to that yet. So getting Pollard for this team was huge. Just in case Zeke is not there week 1, week 2, you have Pollard. And they showed in the preseason in the last game, Pollard played all the snaps with the first team and Dak Prescott at quarterback. So the Cowboys are grooming him to be the every down back if Zeke is out.
Right. No, I also wanted to ask you guys. I felt when I did handcuffs for Zeke and for Dalvin that I may not have to spend as much time thinking about running back for the rest of the season.
Right. That's a good point.
Right.
And you have your lineup set now at the running back
That's
spot.
how I kind of feel. I wanted to lock down one position.
It's one less decision that you have to make on a Sunday
And
morning.
That is, I hate game time decisions. Interrupt the whole flow for me. I really like to have peace of mind Sunday.
And I think that's what you did with this roster. I think you should be really, really proud of it.
Oh, thank you, man.
So you are very heavy running backs on this roster. Guys, what do you think about that?
Running backs in a 12-team league are always hard to come by.
Right.
You did a great job of getting them early.
Thank you.
Love the fact that you got a flex in David Montgomery, rookie sensation for the Bears.
The word is that Montgomery, I don't know. I felt this way. Periodically, you get these calls saying, look, this guy's camp.
Right.
And typically, we overrate it. Apparently, this is not one of those. I got the same thing from when Sean Payton told a friend of mine, this guy, Kamara, he's having a good camp. This has that feel to it.
Right. And David Montgomery is certainly one of those players. The Bears apparently love him. They traded up to get him in the NFL draft. That's always a good sign. Tariq Cohen, not exactly in between the tackles guy. And Jordan Howard, their old running back, now in Philly.
Jordan Howard went late. And I guess people just, Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, that's just, they've got Clemens. There's 17 running backs in Philadelphia.
There's a lot.
Right? And there's a lot, as Jeff said, Jeff Marks, a lot of mouths to feed in that Eagle lineup.
And if you have 3, you don't have 1.
Yeah.
Adam, I gotta ask you.
Adam, did you ever hear that? Did he make that up? If you have 3, you don't have 1. Did he make that up? Is that or is that standard issue?
No, that's not standard fantasy jargon. He's making it up.
Adam, I gotta ask you, with Jim's roster, which is very heavily filled with running backs, what do you think?
Well, I'm fine with it. I mean, yes, the weakness on this team clearly is wide receiver, but he has Travis Kelce. So that essentially is like a wide receiver one, and you're set at tight end. You don't have to worry about it. You start him every week. I will say this, Chris Godwin, I love. This kid is going to break out. He had a great year last year. He only played 64% of the snaps. He had to deal with Adam Humphries. He had to deal with Deshaun Jackson. They're both gone. Bruce Arians, the slot. We saw what Larry Fitzgerald did. The Buccaneers defense is terrible. They're going to pass a lot. Godwin had 8 touchdowns last year in part-time play. And here's a good stat for you. 6 games without Deshaun Jackson. Godwin had at least 90 receiving yards in 4 of those games and 4 touchdowns. That was a glimpse of what's going to occur this year. Godwin's going to explode. So a lot of people might see him and say, oh, well, he's not the wide receiver one. It's Mike Evans. Don't be surprised if those numbers are close. Christian Kirk's a guy that can break out. If you think this Arizona offense is going to be as good as some people think, and forget about what happened last week in the preseason. They're not showing anything in the preseason. Why are they going to show this offense? It makes no sense. And that's another team. Their defense is horrible. That's what I took away from that preseason game. We knew their defense stinks. It's horrible. I mean, the Raiders just marched up and down the field, which is good for your fantasy quarterback and wide receivers. So to me, the weakness here is wide receiver, but there's a ton of upside plays. Washington off the bench. The running backs are stout. You got the top tight end in Kelce, and you got a top 5 quarterback for me at Wentz. So everything is shaping up to be good here. Of course, you got to work the waiver wire, avoid those injuries, but you can find a receiver on the waiver wire.
All right, well, let's talk about the notion of the uniform that I'm wearing right now. Because of your colleague's intervention, it was kind of an intervention, frankly. It wasn't just
we needed to have it.
Right, we needed the intervention.
Sometimes it's a little uncomfortable, but that's okay.
There was a moment.
We want to see the best for each other.
But it was Godwin versus Alshon.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, before our 3 commandments rule of many to come, I would have gone with Alshon. Why? Because, I want to see Alshon. Isn't it about winning? It's not about field.
Of course. It's all about winning. And that's why you ended up taking Ezekiel Elliott with number 4, too.
I have to win.
We made progress today.
No, look,
2019 is a new, fresh year for Jim Cramer fantasy football.
It's day 1. Okay? It's day 1. And
you get one pin?
I get one.
But let's back up. Okay, Jim, we've given you a lot of credit. We've given you a lot of praise, but I'm a journalist. We got to be fair. What about when you drafted Carson Wentz when you did?
Okay, so I talked a lot to myself, since no one else will listen to me, about Carson Wentz, and I have a signed jersey of Carson, and I revere Carson, and I went to see camp, and the Carson I saw in camp was like the camp 2 camps ago. The Carson I saw last year, it was just painful. Yeah. He was so obviously in pain. He smiled in that kind of grimace. And I didn't fall prey to Deshaun, who actually I think will have 3 good games and 8 bad ones, I think.
Okay.
I didn't fall prey to deciding, and I happen to, I happen to love Ertz, but I like Travis more. And I said to myself, all right, this is my concession. There are many good quarterbacks that were available right at that moment. But I will see him. I'll go on many road games, and I'll never miss a home game. And it just, to me, feels like this is a breakout year again for him. We forget he was MVP caliber before the injury.
Yes.
So that's kind of...
The great thing about the Eagles is you don't have to worry with Carson Wentz.
I'm sorry, you said great thing about the Eagles.
No,
Remember,
I
I am
there
Cowboys.
There is one. Listen, the great thing when it comes to fantasy football, you don't have to worry about Carson Wentz competing with anybody. Zach Ertz is not competing with Dallas Goedert.
Right.
Alshon with Deshaun. All the running backs. Carson Wentz is distributing to all of them.
That's right.
They're one of the best personnel up and down. The Eagles are up there, top 3 in the league probably. Wentz is going to give the ball to everybody.
Okay, so in the season that Wentz had was MVP, it was Frank Reich.
Yeah.
Now it's Groh. Does Groh see it?
He really needs to because that offense is way too talented to screw things up.
Okay.
Adam, what
Sometimes
are your
it's really
thoughts
that
here?
simple.
I know, it should be. It's just that I can't, just that one quote where he just said he didn't know how to get Golden Tate in the offense. It was like a house of pain for me. That's like, look.
That was a mid-season thing, a trade, and that came out of nowhere.
I own Amazon stock. I can't put it in my portfolio. I'm not, I'll own 2 shares. No, I mean,
Can't use it.
I can't use Amazon. No, I'd rather, what I want to do is play a coal stock.
Right.
Coal stock in there.
Adam, what are your thoughts here?
No, I like Wentz. I mean, again, I'm the type of person who will not take a quarterback early but I understand in these type of leagues, the quarterbacks do come off the board a little bit earlier. And it's easy to say, oh, that's a homer pick, but I'm a Cowboys fan, and I like Wentz. I think I have Wentz ranked 5th at quarterback. I just think that team is loaded with weapons.
Yeah.
Bringing Deshaun Jackson back, we know he's volatile for fantasy. He's going to have a couple big games, and then he's going to be quiet. Right. But the defense has to pay attention to him. He's a deep threat with speed. He opens it up for everyone else. You have Ertz. Alshon Jeffrey wasn't even healthy going into last year. He was coming off the shoulder surgery, missed the first 3 games. They got Nelson Aguilar. There's so many weapons on this offense, and Wentz can absolutely put up big numbers this year. So I don't think it was a bad pick. I personally would have done it, but again, I am just wait on quarterback. I'll take the 12th, 13th, 14th quarterback off the board, but that's just me. In the 7th round, though, in a home league draft, it is a fair value.
Okay, that's good. I feel good about that. I want to ask Adam a question. I mentioned this to you, Bill, earlier. This is the earliest we've ever drafted. Would it behoove me this weekend, perhaps, to go back over all the people who were not drafted, or maybe after the 4th game? Because my roster could be stale in 10 days. Would it be, was it, like, because and the reason why it made me think about this is Nelson Aguilar, who, look, he had a couple, but he was not drafted. And I'm thinking there's probably other guys who were better than maybe people I have. Like I have Moncrief. Now I'm like on the fence about Moncrief. I've got the wrong Samuel and the right Samuel. I'm trying to figure out whether it wouldn't pay to just go back over and see who wasn't drafted.
Well, of course, and then we'll see what happens this weekend in the preseason. It depends also on how deep the league is. As far as Moncrief, I think you hold on to him for a little bbit. There's going to be value coming out of that Steelers offense from that second receiver. Right now, it's Moncrief. Washington's had a good preseason, but he really hasn't played with the ones. Right. If they're pass heavy, they were last year, there's going to be someone that has value there because there was a lot of targets gone. There's about 220, 230 targets gone with Antonio Brown gone. So someone has to step up. So at least you have both pieces of that offense. And it might take a couple of weeks to see who is the guy. So I think you hold on to them. But yeah, you always look and see what's on the waiver wire because there could be an injury that occurs this weekend. The thing is, though, this is the dress rehearsal week. I don't think we're going to see guys play deep into games. It feels like guys are playing less and less in this preseason.
Yeah, one series.
I don't think we're going to see a lot of guys play even a half this week. So we might not see too many injuries. But yeah, you always go back and look. I don't know when the waiver wire opens up. Most of my leagues, it's usually September 4th, that first week.
Same.
So I have drafts between now and then that right after Labor Day, I'll go through the waiver wire and say, okay, who did we not draft that maybe has value now?
Got it.
All right, so let's take a step back. Jim, you're known for your investing advice. You have this thing that we call a bullpen, which are stocks that you're waiting to buy.
Absolutely.
So let's put that in fantasy football terms. Guys, let's talk about Jim's possible bullpen. What names do you want to see in there?
That's a perfect transition from what you were just talking about. I think we will see some people in the 3rd preseason game. There is always going to be wide receivers because that seems to be like there's 10 guys on this 80-man roster or the 90-man roster that these NFL teams have. They cut it down to 53. So a lot of these guys are going to end up getting cut.
Right.
That could either destroy someone's roster if you took them or present a new opportunity for someone that's climbing up the depth chart. So that's something that you really need to pay attention to when you're looking at the possible waiver wire ads before the season starts.
Well, I know we've got some time. I'm going to do a lot of soul searching because I feel like that there was a momentary lapse in my judgment normally we draft 12.
Right.
Between 12 and 14.
Okay.
It's like, wow, out of my comfort zone. I've never drafted this many before with a 17.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and I was like, I think I have it. But then I had to leave room for the handcuffs. But then I got back on my game because I said, there's enough guys in my league that don't like me that they might take Madison just to screw me over.
Yeah.
Right? Just like they don't even need him. They'll like just keep him just long enough to make me feel bad.
Yeah.
So that I woke up.
Yeah, all right. You got back into
I had a
focus.
sugar high too. I had some gummies.
Okay.
Adam, what about you?
Yeah, I'm always looking at running backs. I know he has depth on this team, but you want to try and take as many lottery tickets as you want.
Yeah.
Justice Hill from the Ravens is a good one. I think he's going to be involved in this offense. Darwin Thompson is a guy who looks like he's surpassing Carlos Hyde on the depth chart. We all know Carlos Hyde's not that good. He keeps getting traded, and you want a piece of that Chiefs offense. And Damian Williams has not been able to show that he can stay and carry a huge workload over a full season. The guy's never had more than 50 carries in a season, and he's 27 years old, already had a hamstring issue, Darwin Thompson, a kid that they drafted in the 6th round this year, he's a guy to keep an eye on. So I'm always looking at those running backs late in drafts because they can step up and become big contributors to your fantasy team.
Well, was there anybody that you were surprised look, we obviously 17, we picked up a lot of guys. That we were surprised that no one picked, that you just said, wow, I got like the ultimate sleeper. You would think in 17 rounds they would have picked this guy?
I didn't see the draft board, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll tell you who I am surprised that did get picked.
JJ, Whiteside?
I'm surprised that someone did get picked. DeAnthony Thomas. He got picked in like the 3rd or 4th. Was that a mistake?
There were some mistakes.
What the heck was going on there?
Some mistakes.
I wanted to scream like Vince Lombardi. What the hell's going on there?
There were some mistakes. There were some people who should not have been drafted. Now, I have to tell you, my opponent in first week picked Gordon very high. Melvin Gordon very high. And
that could be interesting because you have Zeke, he has Gordon.
I know.
You both could be without your top back.
Right, so it's going to be...
The question is, did he get the handcuffs?
I haven't seen.
We'll have to check that out.
I didn't do that. I
You're
didn't get that granular.
You got the insurance policy.
Right.
You got the handcuff. You're safe no matter what. That's what's great about handcuffing.
All right, so we got some closing words from you two guys.
So I want to ask you one final question,
Sure.
Jim. Now, we had a confessional booth open.
I got Salesforce tomorrow.
Yeah, you got Salesforce tomorrow, so you got to study up on that.
It's be an important quarter.
Okay.
This is a quarter where the last Mark Benioff, the founder and CEO, spent the last 2 months in Hawaii, just landed in Geneva today. He's got a new book out in October. Some people feel he's distracted and that he's not playing.
Do we like when the CEO is in Hawaii for 2 months?
He's got a beautiful house there.
Okay.
Now, rules keep me from going, but he's on the Big Island.
Okay.
My daughter lives on the Big Island for a while. My takeaway is that a lot of people feel this is like a character issue. Like that there's a fellow for the Jets that you told me when I talked about, he's got some character issues.
A little bit.
Benioff is not like that.
Okay.
Benioff, I think, will deliver. It'll be Keith Block, who's handcuffed to Benioff.
All right.
So I think we'll find either way. I got the handcuffs. Benioff, Keith Block.
Keith Block.
All right.
Perfect.
That's tomorrow's business.
All right, Jim, 60 seconds. What was your one confession that you want to make about this draft?
Okay, I'll say it. My father always wore number 10. Number 10 is back. He was available. And all I could think of was that Deshaun is going to come, and he's going to get 3 touchdowns at that first game. And even if we win, I will be heartbroken. But you can't play with your heart. And there were too many games when I had him for the Skins and for Tampa Bay that he did nothing for. When I say nothing, I'm talking zero.
Yeah.
And that is, those 3 games that he won for you, they didn't even win them for you. You know that. But my weakness was, I want him to have a great year, and that's one of the reasons why I went with Wentz, because at least I get that here.
You get the nice little
I get the
quarterback. If the wide receiver gets the points, great, but you get the quarterback points either way.
And because if I hadn't had Wentz, I would have taken Deshaun, but I love the little guy.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
the
aren't you
little
proud
guy.
of yourself that you kind of like really stuck true, you stayed disciplined, you didn't use your emotions, and that's why you have a great team.
And I will thank you. I will tell you that many a time I have incredible remorse. I'll show my team to people, and they'll say, you got a lot of Eagles there.
Yeah.
Oh, you like the Eagles, huh?
Only one on this roster.
Yeah, and I really, it's more psychological that I want to show, but the discipline of getting some of these receivers I have, the discipline of not taking Ertz over Travis, that would have been wrong. Right. That would have been a mistake.
You stuck to your cheat sheet.
Right, because I had my Ertz jersey with me, a signed Ertz jersey.
Ready to put it on.
And I was ready to put it on, and then when Travis was still there, I was surprised.
Yeah.
Surprised.
All right, Adam, Jim, Bill, thank you so much. Guys, head over to bullmarketfantasy.com for more.